lifters with part 2 of episode 103 of This Week in Grip, featuring Don Cummings. We're going to pick right back up where we left off with the impressive Ruben Hughes and then go right into new, untouched content. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you get an email every time a new video comes out. All the best in your training. Now back to Don Cummings in episode 103 of This Week in Grip.
The week after my bending competition, there was a steel shredder King Shield. Did you all hear about that event?
Probably, but I don't recall much myself.
No, I don't remember hearing about that.
So it was probably the hardest steel bending competition ever. David Horn picked the 5 people that he considered the best active competing steel benders in the world. It was Ruben, David Wigren, Zsolt Horniak out of Hungary, me, and then Iron Stan from the U.S. And it was 6 events. He sent the steel to everyone, and we all did it on the same day. And Ruben won that competition, and he just did some phenomenal bends. I believe he builds like stone walls for a living in Wales, and he's just lifting stones, busting stones up all day, and he's just so strong. And his snapping and bending right now is just out of this world.
You said Iron Stan. Who is that? Is that Stan Tomaszko?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to check and make sure.
Yeah, steel shredder number 4, which was done earlier this year. It was mid-length bending. Stan got second in that competition. Ruben got first, Stan second, me third, Zsolt fourth. And Stan, me, and Zsolt all did the same bar. But Stan did it faster than me, and I did it faster than Zsolt for the placings.
Cool. Really cool. Awesome. So
did David Horton not compete in that?
He doesn't compete in his own steel shredder competitions.
Okay.
He's chosen not to compete in them. But they did come out with, just in the last month, the steel bending world rankings. Have you guys seen those at all?
Haven't seen those.
No.
There's like a ranking system now that David's come out with that based on steel bending competitions and other events, you get ranked. And he's got a top 20 ranking for benders in the world right now.
Cool.
And as part of this, you can like challenge somebody basically who's above you, and you'll do, you all will come up with what events you're going to do, and then David sends a steel out, and you have a challenge on the same day. And so these are called super matches, and the first super match is coming up. I think it's August 5th, where David, he's involved in the rankings. He's competing with this stuff. David and Kirill from Belarus are going to be having a super match, which should be pretty exciting.
That's really, really cool, man. Really cool. That is fantastic. Actually had a similar idea for grip as well, kind of like that only a couple people know about. That's really, really awesome.
Yeah, steel bending to me it's such an exciting time right now. And a lot of it's owed to David Horn because he's coming up with so many events and competitions and challenges. There's just so much going on and so many options for steel bending right now. And I think the sport's really grown and more people are doing it. And it's really coming something that a lot of people are doing, and there's lots of options for it.
That's neat. Did we cover all the events in the competition, Don? Or did we branch away from that too early?
Yeah, we branched away. So then we had spike bending, where we bent. There were different levels of spikes, and the long bar bending, which was probably my second favorite event of the competition. I don't know. Long bar bending is just fun. I love the techniques, and we also had people going at the same time with the long bar bending, which made it cool too. Anytime you got people bending at the same time, it makes it fun. And so anyone who was bending the same bar went at the same time. And nice. So the hardest bar we had was 3/4 of an inch diameter by 40 inches long. And this was pretty tough stock. I mean, these were tough bars. And 4 of us elected to do that bar. Me, Carl, Tom Flesher, and then Anton all did that bar. And it was fun. Not everyone completed it. Carl, I did it the fastest. I did it fairly quick. I was pretty happy with my time. I think it was about 50 seconds or something. And then Carl and Tom were basically right on par with each other, but Carl was a little bit behind Tom. Tom had the bar a little bit further. And one of the most memorable moments of the whole competition is I was already done bending, so I was just watching. And I'm seeing Tom beating Carl. And then I all of a sudden see Carl look over at Tom, and he realizes that Tom is beating him. And it just, infuriates him, and he, kicks it into overdrive and just went beast mode on this bar and blew through it to finish, right in the nick of time because there was a 5-minute time limit. He finished it right before the 5 minutes. He was the only other person to finish it. And after he finished it, he kind of stumbled and sat down on the ground and looked like he almost passed out. He literally went into 110% overdrive to finish that bar, and it took a lot out of him.
Holy cow, man. That must have been something to see.
Yeah, we've got a cool picture. This was really cool, too. Amir, who competed, he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy here in Michigan, and his jiu-jitsu coach, I guess, had done some bending and told Amir that it would be, good for his jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And so Amir gets into it, and I'm on Instagram. Anytime anybody puts hashtag steel bending, it comes up on my thing for me to see. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing videos of this guy Amir who's wearing a Beaumont shirt while he's bending. And Beaumont is a hospital right by my house. And so I messaged him, and it turns out he's right down the road from me.
Wow.
And so Amir ends up coming to the competition, and his girlfriend Kelly comes. And Kelly took over 1,000 photographs of the competition. And she is an amazing photographer. She's got a lot of talent. We've had so many cool pictures. And she captured a couple images of Carl basically right when he stumbled and sat down. And you could just see the exhaustion on his face. They're really cool photographs.
Wow. Awesome. Well, I just followed that hashtag, the steel bending hashtag. There's over 5,000 posts on that, Alan.
I'd never even seen that one come up, actually. In all the times I'm going to go on there right now.
Really cool. Yeah, so then after the long bar, then we had the medley that we talked about already.
Right.
And, that was just so much fun, too. There's some really cool pictures from the medley of just the exhaustion on people's faces, too. It's just a brutal event, 20 minutes of combining, high-end strength bends, with wrenches and horseshoes that just take it out of you, with snapping, which just tests your endurance to the max, and you're combining them where they're back-to-back. It was just brutal on people. And one of my thought processes with the medley that I liked, too, was that it kind of was similar to what you need as a performing strongman. Because when you're performing, you're doing feet after feet with no rest, back to back to back. And so I thought it would kind of replicate that a little bit, which would be kind of cool to have for the contest, too.
Yeah, man, that's really awesome. Really awesome. Any other, is a steel bending comp sort of like grip in that after the the steel bending competition is done, people stick around and then start doing other stuff, like go for other certs or anything like that, or were people pretty much wiped out?
People were pretty wiped out. People definitely were doing stuff. One thing that was cool was that Josh Hensey, he had sent me a package with these really cool bending figures that he made out of bent steel.
Josh is awesome with that stuff, man.
He is unbelievable. He's such a cool guy and has so much talent, and he's so just, giving and such a genuine guy. It was so nice of him. I had no idea this was coming. I just got a package in the mail one day with a handwritten letter and all this handmade stuff that was just unbelievable. And so to thank him, I came up with the idea of making a scroll for him. And I got one 10-foot piece of bar, and we would all just tag team it so that it was made by everyone in the competition. Everyone would make bends in the scroll and just kind of collaborate to come up with it. So that's the first thing we did after the competition, was make that scroll for Josh, just as a way to say thank you to him.
Awesome.
One thing that I wasn't there to witness, but I saw in a picture, that's a picture of Anton, but in the background you see Darren Shulman doing a middle finger pull-up on my pull-up bar, which is a pretty cool feat.
So Darren competed as well?
Yeah, Darren competed. He's been back bending now. He's the bending bugs bit him hard again. It seems like he's posting some pretty dang strong bends recently.
Awesome. So how did the placings shake out at the end?
Here, let me get the list so I get all the placings right here.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so I won the competition. Then second place was Carl. Third place was Andrew Dube. Where the heck is my list here? Fourth place was Anton. Fifth place, Darren. Sixth place, Tom Flesher. 7, Amir. 8, John Mauser. 9 is Chris Stillwell, who was a newer bender. He's a pretty high-level judo competitor who, just like Amir, got into bending to help his, his martial arts. And then David O'Keefe from Michigan, 10th.
So was it Stapleton, the guy's last name, or Singleton?
Stillwell.
Stillwell, sorry.
Yeah.
So he's a Michigan guy as well?
Yep, he's a Michigan guy too.
Yeah.
And then we had trophies I made up that were, I took 10-inch wrenches that I bent, and I mounted them on plaques for the trophies that had then, the placings and everything on it on little placards. They
really
turned out
nice.
pretty good.
Yeah, I remember David talking about how steel bending could carry over to, jiu-jitsu and things like that. I remember him talking about that for years and years. Years ago, he was talking about that, for sure.
Yeah, I think especially braced bending, like mid and long bar bending, it develops, your core just has to be powerful with it. And all the core strength and just overall body strength. And wrestling is actually very isometric. There's so many, different times you're in positions where, there's not much movement and you need good isometric strength with wrestling. And, bending's got that component to it. And, when you're doing a long bar bend, you're kind of wrestling that damn bar. It's kind of like you're wrestling it. There's so many different positions and whatnot. And then snapping, too, is the other thing I think is great for, whether it's wrestling or jiu-jitsu, whatever sort of combat sport you're into. Just the type of strength and endurance that snapping builds, I think, is great for combat.
I absolutely agree. Anything else about the competition, Don, that we need to talk about?
I think we covered most everything. Honestly, it was a very memorable day for me. The competition exceeded all my expectations. I had so much fun. Everyone that left, I think had a great time, and people were talking about coming back the next year, and there's definitely going to be a next year. I'm making this an annual thing for sure.
Okay, that's great. Is it going to be more or less the same time of year next year in May?
Yeah, it's April or May, sometime in the spring. I'm going to hopefully get a date locked down sometime soon, and I'll post it on the grip board. But yeah, hopefully that springtime, and I think it's a good time for bending, because you don't want to do it when it's too hot because you're wearing jeans and sometimes a sweatshirt or whatever. You want the weather a little bit cooler. But it also can snow in Michigan in April, in early April. So
sure, absolutely.
End of April, early May, I think, is kind of best time for it.
And that was a GSI NAG sanctioned event that was a qualifier for national competition as well, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. You wouldn't know it too much these days, but bending used to be an integral part of the sport of grip back in the day. When I went to the first competition that I went to, the second competition that I went to, they both had steel bending in them. So, and it was so long ago that I think in the the second competition I did, I used a towel, like a that you would dry off with in the shower.
For your wraps?
For wraps, yes.
Yeah, that's old school. I like it.
Yeah, dude. And then
yeah, people used to use like shop rags, like you would see in like a mechanic shop for towels. I think Eric Millfield, that's what he sorted the red nail with before they had the blue pads people used. I remember reading about him, I think, sorting the red nail with these shop towels.
Yep, I think you're right. And I remember the Vigents back in the day bending with bank bags. You know what a bank bag is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, dude. It's kind of a similar material to the blue Cordura wraps, and they just wrapped that thing around the red nail to bend it, or whatever it was. I think they were bending reds, but
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, is anyone doing like ultra short red nail bends these days, unbraced? Because it seems like I remember people back in the day doing like 4.5 inch red nails.
Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of real short ones lately. Mm-hmm. The big, for me, what I've been really training for since the end of May was to do a big, endurance red nail challenge. Did you see what I did yesterday, guys?
Absolutely, and we definitely want to talk to you about that. Tell us about it.
Yes. So there's two guys in 2005, I think it was January of 2005, Greg Amadon and Dave Morton, who each bent 100 red nails in one sitting. It took them about 3 hours. They were on speakerphone kind of encouraging each other. And I had read about this a couple years ago, and it just fascinated me. And I really like things that are kind of like pain tolerance, mental toughness type things. I really like those feats and respect them. And to me, it was such just incredible thing. It just wouldn't get out of my head, and it was always in my head. And then on my 40th birthday last year, I did 40 red nails on my 40th birthday. And it was just brutal. I mean, it destroyed me, and I said, never again am I doing some, big endurance, multi-bend thing like this. And so, my thought of doing the 100 kind of disappeared. And then after my hands healed up, my stupidity came back, and it just would not leave my head thinking about doing 100 red nails. And we were at Gritmas in December last year, the night before the competition, sitting around a table, and that came up, the 100 red nails. And I kind of planned out that I was going to do it in the summer after my competition. And so after the King Shield competition, I started training for it. And then yesterday I bent 102 red nails in a little over 2 hours. I think it was like 2 hours, 12 minutes or something like that.
Wow. Unbelievable. Dude, there's something wrong with you, bro.
Looks like a little over a minute a nail.
My hands are destroyed right now, and the level of soreness in my body is pretty high. My core, my back, my shoulders, arms are all real sore today, and my hands are absolutely destroyed.
Dude, there was blood coming out of the blood. Like the blood was bleeding out of your hands.
Yeah, my palms were bleeding. My palms took it back.
Unbelievable. Are you glad you did it? Like, do you have any regrets? Like what kind of, was that your goal to do all those? And did you think you would get it in like 2 hours? Well, like, tell us about the mindset, dude.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy I did it. I love pushing myself, and it was a great way to push myself to the limit. And I ordered 150 nails. I wasn't going to stop until I did 100. Like, there's no way I would have stopped. I would have destroyed myself even worse if I had to. So I knew I would get 100. I just didn't know how many I would do over 100. And I got to 100. My hands were killing me. I had to get psyched up for each hit. It was so painful. My fingers started twitching. I couldn't even, there at the very last bars, I couldn't get the wraps onto the new bar. Amir did it for me. And, I did the one after 100 to beat, the most ever done before. Then I did another one, and I'm like, I had to think about the risk reward. Could I have, if the record would have been 120, I could have done 120 yesterday. But with the record being 100, it just didn't make sense to just do any more damage than I had already done. And so I stopped at the 102, and yeah, I'm over the moon about it. I'm so happy with it, and it was a real fun challenge to train for. One thing with the training for it is the most I ever did in training was 50, and I think 50 was the second most anyone has ever done for red nails besides the 100. And so I had never pushed, to that level that I hit yesterday. And I didn't want to in training because I didn't see any need just to destroy myself in training, just get my hands as tough as possible and then just destroy it on one day.
So what do you do with all 102 of those nails then? When you're done, you save them? You have like a special... What do you do with them?
Well, yeah.
You just throw them away, did you?
No, I'm definitely saving them. So, I talked with the company about this being a world record, and I'm going to send them the video. So it may be hopefully considered a world record. And when I get like the world record certificate, I thought about, maybe framing them with the nails around the certificate or something like that, coming up with some way to kind of do something cool I could put on the wall in my garage, in my gym.
Sure. That's awesome.
That's great. What other... Let's see. Before Don, I have something I wanted to talk about. You brought up Greg Abaddon and Dave Morton. Are you familiar with those names, Alan?
The Dave Morton name I've heard. The other one, no.
All right. So Dave Morton's one of the number 4 closers. He's certified. He did it back in 2004. He closed a 3 after a week, and then he was just an absolute freak back in the early days. He was at the Battle for Grip Supremacy in 2003. So that's where I first met him. Greg Abaddon, if I remember correctly, I met him the next year out to the Minnesota contest that I went to. It was called Strong Arm Tactics. Those guys, did you know they used to have a blog together, Don?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. I Googled it, and I tried to get it to come up, and it's not coming up. It came up with Gripper Hell, which is the one that Tony Spinillo would... No, Gripper Hell, the Gripper Hell blog is the one by Greg Abaddon and Dave Morton. That's right. I forgot about that. Gripper Hell.
Okay.
So it might be Gripper Hell. I'm typing it in, so gripperhell.blogspot.com. And we'll see if it comes up. Who knows? But that's what it used to be. Yeah, it is. It's still there, bro. The blog is open.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
It's open to invited readers only.
Okay.
I don't know. You might want to look into that, Don. See if you can crack the code to that.
Yeah, I may look at it. Just see if there's more information about when they did the 100. When I decided I was going to do it, I tried to find those guys on social media, just ask them about it, and just talk about it a little bit. And
yeah.
I didn't have any luck really locating either guy on Facebook or anything.
No, dude, I haven't heard from either one of them in ages. I was thinking that didn't they do an article about that, and we had it on dieselcrew.com in our articles section?
I did find that, but when I clicked on it, I don't think the link was still there anymore or something.
Oh, the link was broken or something?
Yeah, the information wasn't there or available anymore.
Okay. Well,
that'd be awesome if you could find that. I would love to read that.
That's not something that I can do right now, but if you help me remember, Don, I will see if I can dig that up, because I'm pretty sure that it still exists. It's just I believe maybe there may have been an edit done to the link and not updated properly for so that it could be read. So I will look into that, dude. I will look into that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Those guys are also, Alan, the ones that came up with the RGC.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they are.
I'd never heard that.
They were the first ones to do it, brother. First ones to do it.
Oh, cool.
I think it's pretty cool when they, they bent the 100 that they were on speakerphone, encouraging each other. Even though they lived in different places, they were, on the phone together so they could kind of do it at the same time together.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. What other stuff? I know that you've got, I believe it was a Guinness World Record that you set at Gripmas last year, right? Or no, maybe it was it might have been a David Horn World Record, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, it was a David Horn record for bending the 6-inch nails taped together, the most sets in 2 minutes.
Man, that's something.
David
what else have you done, Don? What other, rattle off some of the big stuff that you've done that it's just blowing people away.
So I don't know. I did a 40-inch Goliath bar.
Now, what is that? Because I'm not even familiar with that.
Have you heard of the Goliath bar?
No.
Here, I'm going to look it up real quick. I forget the exact dimensions.
Yeah,
I've heard that name. I thought we might have talked about that. I don't remember what it is at all, but I've
seen the word come up, but as far as like an explanation of exactly what it was, if I saw it, it passed by.
So I think the first person to do it was Eric Vining, and who was one of the greatest steel scrollers. That's what he's really known for, one of the greatest steel scrollers ever. A lot of people say he's the best steel scroller ever.
Do you know that guy, Alan? Eric Vining?
I've seen that name, actually.
Hammerhead.
Yeah.
Hammerhead was his name on the grip board years ago.
Yeah. So the Goliath is 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch flat bar that's 48 inches long. It's it's a real tough bar. Not a lot of people have done. And I was able to do a cut down one that was cut down to 40 inches last December, which was one of the tougher bars I've done. The snaps, I've been pretty happy with my snaps. I was the first person to snap a red nail lying down, first person to do the man killer snap lying down. I snapped 3 red nails back to back to back in a pretty fast time recently. Those are some of the things that I'm pretty happy with.
Dude, you know what you should try to take it a step further? And I'm assuming this would be more difficult. It would definitely be a lot of blood rushing to your head, as if you did the bends and snaps inverted.
Inverted.
Yeah,
that would be tough.
I think it would be real tough. But if someone's going to be able to do it, I think it would be you. I'd even let you borrow my gravity
boots.
My inverted, if you wanted to try it out, bro.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be tough if you're just hanging in the air, not on anything. Because when you're lying on the ground, you at least have your back on the ground for support. Yeah. But if you were just in midair with no support whatsoever, definitely would be tougher.
And I think, how the blood rushes to your head, I would imagine it would rush even quicker, considering the fact that you're exerting in that position.
Yeah, no, that would have to mess with you for sure.
Yeah, you'd need a second there with you. You would need a wingman, just in case you totally passed out or something. Someone that can get you up off that bar.
Right, for sure.
If you borrow my inversion boots, then you're definitely signing a waiver. Oh man, cool. So, are there any other steel competitions that are coming up anytime soon, as far as an in-person contest that you know of?
The next thing for an in-person that I know of is we're having a Don Larkin, a contest in his name in Three Rivers, Michigan. It's being put on in November, and one of the events is going to be double overhand bending. So it's not just steel bending, but it's a grip contest that'll have a bending element in it.
So it's like the competitions that took place there years ago, back in the 06, 07, 08 time period.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a throwback competition, and the events I think are going to I forget what the exact events are, but they're all things that Don was into that are a little different.
there's a two-hand pinch on like a 1 inch thick, basically a 1 inch thick non-adjustable Euro pinch.
Okay.
We did that one time before. I want to say it was like 2008 maybe.
Okay.
I think that event is going on, but I remember they held it in the past. It was weird. It was super weird because it was like you were pinching the Euro plates with no rubber inserts in there. It was just the steel plates.
How many competitions did you go to at Don's place, Jed?
I went to at least 2, maybe 3. One of them,
yeah.
I think we talked about this not too long ago, but I got like extremely ill on the way back. The day after, I pinpointed it to a spoiled plum that I ate because it was really soft when I ate it, but it tasted good, so I ate it. And then John Neaton drove home from Michigan in about 4 hours, and we pulled into the driveway, and by the time I was out of the car, he had already put all of my stuff, all of my belongings from his car into my car before I even stood up out of the seat. I was in that bad of shape. But it was either 2 or 3 times that we went. I know definitely at least twice I was out there.
Don was, man, he was a heck of a guy. I only got to meet him one time, but everything I always hear about him is he was a super intense guy and, was a really strong and really talented guy.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a smaller statured man, but from what I understood, his powerlifting numbers were exceptional. And I remember, I think it was the last time I went out there, that he wrapped up a nail and bent it, and by the time he was done, he was bleeding. Like somehow one of his nails clipped the back of one of his other fingers, and blood was pouring out of it. And then I can't remember his wife's name. Was it Terry? Teresa? No, I can't remember now. But
it's
she was
Jerry.
Jerry. Thank you. And she was the nicest lady ever, man. And she was always right there cheering all of us on, and always had something to do with the competition too. Whether it was, she made food all the time, and kept things running, kept score, and all that stuff. They were quite the 1-2 punch for running competitions.
Yeah, no, their competitions back in the day looked like they were epic. And the first King Kong I ever went to was held in Don's gym. It was the last competition done there. And his gym was something else, with all the memorabilia and pictures on the wall and all the equipment he had. It was a really cool gym.
Yep. Yeah, man. It was like the gym is located in what used to be like a house.
Yeah.
And like you go into different, like the living room, and then the what probably used to be a bedroom or a sitting room and all that stuff. And there's different, crossover machine and a squat cage in another room and benches in different spots. It was really cool.
And Dave Thornton, he's going to be putting on that competition. Dave, I know you've competed with him before, Jed. He's a super strong guy too.
Oh yeah, unopposing. Totally nice guy. Never saw him frown in my life. Never saw him say anything negative about anyone. And usually he wore sweatpants the whole time.
Yeah.
Which nothing against sweatpants. It's just he had on the same pair of sweatpants every time, I think.
Yeah, Dave's a good guy. I've gotten to compete with him a couple times, and super nice guy, and just it's amazing how strong he is. Absolutely.
He pulled off all the feats, 245s, 325s, blob. Can't remember about inch. Don't know if he's certified on a 3 or anything like that, but I know he closed them. Never heard him raise his voice. I mean, it was him and Bob Lipinski at those competitions all the time, and then there was always some other friends of theirs that would be out there. But at Don Larkin's place, that's actually, if I remember correctly, it's the first time that I met Aaron Corcoran.
Okay,
he was at one of those events.
Yeah, I remember Aaron telling me about they had like a bending, the double overhand bending I think was done after the grip competition when he went up there, and they had a really cool trophy for the bending component of it that Aaron won.
That, you know what? I don't recall that, but I'm sure that's what went down.
Yeah.
I just don't remember. I remember for hours, being up for hours after the competition was done and still continuing to train feats. And, like, there's no video footage of any of it. It was like, once the competition was done, there just wasn't as much videoing back then. Like, I was probably
people didn't have the cell phones like, people do now.
Yeah, no cell phone. If anybody had a cell phone, it was like you could make calls on that cell phone, and that's about it. Forget it.
Yeah, you got the flip phone.
Yeah. Forget it, And nobody had video cameras. Like, I don't know how many competitions. I was the only one that had a video camera. And once the competition would start, if I didn't have my tripod with me, then stuff probably didn't get recorded unless it was a world record on the two-hand pinch, an attempt for that. So much amazing stuff, dude. Like, not necessarily that it was all like world-class performances that were done, but it was like rites of passages at Don's gym, and snatch this or lift this anvil, and then you're on the list forever, But
right.
all of it is just up in dust, up in smoke, gone. No records, and just back in those days, it was more about the experience than the recognition. So
right.
It was always really cool. There's another thing I was going to talk to you about, Don. I haven't seen an update on it in a while, but weren't you compiling a list or some kind of book or something like that on all of the different steel bending competitions that there were? Do I remember something along those lines?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time putting together this book that I have as a PDF document, and I update it whenever there's new bending competitions or things going on. And every steel bending competition I could find information on, I have in it. And that includes, like, bending as part of grip competitions.
Yeah.
So there may have been things that I couldn't find information on that aren't in there. But if anyone wants to read that book and they haven't seen it, I've got it on the grip board. Like, if you look at, I forget what the post is called, but Steel Bending History Book or something like that. If you search that on the grip board, it would come up. Or you could email me, and I would send it to anyone. And if anyone has information that's not in the book or photographs or anything, I would add it.
Cool, man. Really cool.
And that all came about when I was getting ready for the, trying to come up with what I was going to do for the Michigan Steel Bending and Breaking Championship. I wanted to see what had been contested before, just kind of get ideas on how to run it and what events, etc.
Right.
And the information was all over the place. I'd find something on the grip board, something on Facebook, something on David Horn's page. It was just, I was finding lots of good information, but it was kind of hard to find, and it was just everywhere. And I'm like, man, I'm getting all this good stuff. Let's just put it all together in one place to make it easy for people.
For sure, man. Yeah, I can imagine how all over it would be. Well, I don't know, man. I think you're going to be able to find some cool stuff on Gripper Hell if you can get in there somehow.
Yeah, no, I'm going to try.
I don't have. Well, I don't know for sure that I have contact information for either of those guys, but I've never deleted an email conversation in my email address, in my email inbox, ever. So,
yeah.
I can look and see if I have. Because I know that at one point I was somehow communicating back and forth with Greg Amadon because I actually have one of his grippers.
Okay.
So I'll have to do some digging. But I haven't heard from Dave Morton or Greg Amadon in probably 10 plus years. So.
Yeah, if you find anything, just shoot it my way, because I'd love to be able to get on that page.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Very cool. I think we hit on everything I wanted to. Alan, was there anything that you wanted to hit on with?
Not competition related, but what are your thoughts on the latest batch of gold nails out there?
Oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to bring that up too. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. Don, what do you think?
So yeah, there's some different nails in there. I ordered some gold nails just to see what they were like, the new batch here. And did you all see the video I made that I put on YouTube?
I saw that.
Years. No.
So I ordered, so the gold nails come in groups of 6. And I just kind of videoed what I found with the 12 nails I ordered. So one group of 6 had 3 nails that were shiny and measured 3/8. And, just like a normal old school gold nail would. And then
hold on.
ones...
They measured what? I misunderstood what you said there.
They measured 3/8 in diameter.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. Yep, that makes... All right. I'm sorry, Don. Go ahead.
And then, they look like what a gold nail's always been. And then the other ones in that batch were a darker color, and they weren't like smooth in texture. They had like kind of a pitted, kind of gritty texture, and they actually measured smaller than 3/8. And by like, I think 1/64 smaller. Wow. And then the other batch, same thing. One batch had 5 of these like smaller nails and 1 of the ones that look like a normal gold nail, and then one batch had 3 and 3. So there's definitely, they bought some different steel at some point in time and started sending those out. And apparently, I haven't bent any of them yet because I've just been training for this red nail thing. But apparently, the smaller steel is much easier.
Yeah. What was the gentleman's name that put the video up where he bent one of those gold nails?
So I see Gary Stewart did a video, and Danny Young. I think Young is his last name.
Yeah. He was the first one, Danny Young.
Yeah, he put the video up on Gripboard, and that got people talking. And then Gary ordered some and videoed him bending one and his thoughts on them and what he found.
Right.
Yeah, at some point in time they bought a new batch of steel that was different, and it's not the same as it used to be. So I don't know if that's what the gold nail is going forward, or if they're going to switch it back, or maybe they don't realize that it was a different type of steel. I don't know. I don't know what Iron Mind's thoughts are.
I was wondering that if somebody reached out to Iron Mind and told them about any of the findings as of yet.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has. I don't know.
Okay.
Pat Povolitis was also asking about that on Iron Mind, I saw him ask on Facebook if anybody had brought it to their attention. So I'm not sure. It's not necessarily
it's not an indication necessarily of what anybody could expect to get for the cert. Since Iron Mind's still handing those ones out, for all you could be practicing on the slightly softer ones, and then come cert time get hit with the old-fashioned one that everybody's been dealing with for years.
Right.
So it'd be a bit of a surprise. Yeah. But interesting. I'll be curious what happens, what we see develop out of this. If they'll start getting a different batch. Because I thought, didn't something like that even happen with the red nails, where it seemed like they actually increased in difficulty for a brief period of time?
I know there was a time, and this is before I was bending, where they had what people call spiral red nails, and you could see like these kind of circular, markings on them that were easier than like what a normal red nail was. So I don't know how long a time period the spiral nails were out, but they were supposedly, I've never bent one, but they were easier than what a normal red nail was. Do you have any experience with those, Jed, or know more about the spiral reds?
Yes. So I have. If I haven't sent them away or given them away to somebody, I believe I actually have some spiral red nails downstairs. At the point when they came out, like, it had been so long since I was bending on a routine basis that I couldn't tell a difference between the variations. You know what I mean? I would have had to have bent one variation and one of the other variation to know. I couldn't just bend a spiral and say, oh wow, this is really soft,
Yeah.
So that it's just, there was too much time, because I think I think my last grip competition with steel bending in it was in 2008 maybe.
Okay.
And I don't think I bent again until Well, I was supposed to bend again for the grip miss where I hurt my back. So I think that was 2016, and didn't end up making it to that competition. So, dude, you're talking like 8 years. So there was a big long time where I just really lost all my familiarity with the different bending stock. But I remember discussions about that.
When you were bending a lot, Jed, what was your favorite type of bending?
Well, I absolutely abhorred underhand. Like that, it never felt good to me. I never figured out how to really do it. And in the bending ebook, I had Brad Martin do the double underhand bends for me because I felt like to get a good demonstration, nobody wanted to look at what I was doing. So that was absolutely my worst. I think I was best at reverse bending, and I think in time, once I was able to get some mobility in my shoulders, I think I was probably strongest at double overhand bending for me. You know, I could double overhand bend more than what I could reverse, but I think my reverse was better than most other people's. And probably back in the day, double overhand was my favorite, and then I guess I gravitated back towards reverse because it was more of a grip intensive type of bending, because there wasn't so much upper body and shoulder involvement going into the bend. So I guess probably it's a toss-up depending on what period of time it was.
How about brace bending? What was your favorites with the brace stuff?
I think I always thought that was all good, and I wasn't great at any of it. I came into that. I started doing that basically with Mike Rinderly, and he was light years ahead of me. I think that just I don't know if it's short or mid range, where you just like kind of kink it over your leg and then try to crush it down into a U shape. That is some of the most, just like you say, brutal type of bending. It requires such core strength to be able to smash into the steel. The horseshoe bending is extremely hard too, because you kind of have to, get out of neutral a little bit and kind of move into like a twisted position, or at least I always did. So, but I always thought that those were the hardest type of bending. Just double overhand bending seemed like a walk in the park compared to brace bending.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more full body, the braced bending.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Your core it requires so much core strength and all body power, much more so than like double overhand bending. Yeah.
It was. I remember being sore in my back, like lats, my rhomboids, things like that, doing brace bending, especially if I was doing some kind of a kink where I started out with a row over my knee. Wrench bending was the absolute worst, dude. I've only ever bent like 3 wrenches legit. Like a lot of times I can't kink them unless I cheat them over a rope, like an 1.5 inch rope. I just can't. I don't know if there's a technique cue that I'm missing, but
I bend wrenches just like I bend spikes. I kink them on my knee and then just crush them between my legs, just like I would, a short piece of steel.
Yeah.
Some people that are, I think normally it's kind of broken down whether you have a stronger back or stronger, triceps, like a strong bench presser. Those guys lots of times, like on the upper leg to push down.
Yeah.
But I'm not as good of a presser as I am at pulling type stuff. So I'm much better at pulling on my knee to kink.
Nice. I'm not sure if I ever tried that kind of kink with a wrench. So and it was just something, Don, that I just didn't end up putting enough time in and analyzing enough and obsessing over to really get good at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I need to do in order to get good at something. I need to put serious time in order to get beyond like the beginner levels. Like it just takes a while. I start out at a certain level, and in order to break through that, I need a tremendous amount of time and effort. And if I don't end up putting that time and effort in, then it's just not going to happen. It's like with arm wrestling. wrench bending is like with arm wrestling. Like, maybe I could be good at arm wrestling, but I refuse to put the time in that's required in order to break through the absolute beginner levels of it.
Right. Yeah, all this stuff is so nuanced and so, specific that you definitely have to put the time in to get good at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a type of wrench? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alan.
Is there a type of wrench that people are after? A brand? What's a go-to kind of wrench?
Well, there used to be one called a Sears Companion wrench, and it was it looked like a normal wrench, but then it had like a blue like rubber coating over it, and I don't know what the different lengths or the different sections of a wrench are, but like what I would call the neck of the wrench was very, very skinny, and they bent quite easy compared to the later companion wrenches, which I have one of each, and the sizes of this neck area are completely different in the two wrenches. And then I tried to find those online, and they were gone. You just couldn't find them anymore. Have you ever bent those, Don?
I never have. I've seen plenty of pictures of them, so I know what you're talking about for sure with that blue coating.
Right.
But I have personally never bent those.
Right.
I haven't seen those being
sold.
There
was another one that Mike Rinderly suggested back in the day, and I can't remember what it was called. I want to say ShopRite, but that's not right. Or Best Buy, or it was like a two-syllable, two-word name for these wrenches. Does it ring a bell for you, Don?
No, I don't know that one either. Most of the ones I've been are the Pittsburgh wrenches.
Right.
Okay, so they're cheap. They're cheap wrenches. They're pretty okay. Then I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so you guys aren't bending snap-ons and Matcos or anything like that. Nothing
they would
probably going to be
snap before they would ever bend.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, with wrenches, they're ones that are like real expensive. Ones that probably professional mechanics use and stuff. They're so reinforced and they have such high ridges on them. There's no, a gorilla wouldn't be able to bend.
Sure.
They would probably snap before they would ever bend.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's certain wrenches just aren't going to bend. And then some are going to bend, and there'll be different levels of difficulty.
Okay. And what's the normal length that people are doing with these? Are they like the smaller 8-inch wrenches, or?
Yeah, you'll see it's normally, crescent wrenches you see most of the time, and, there's 6, 8, 10, and 12 inches that I've seen people bend, all varieties. And with the wrench bending at my competition in the medley, we had 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch. And I bent the 10-inch wrench. I think I was the only one to do the 10-inch, and then, some people did the 8, and some people did the 6. 10-inch wrench is a pretty tough bend. And then from there, the 8-inch is easier, obviously, and then the 6.
Sure.
Jed, when we were talking about the core involvement with braced bending.
Yeah.
I learned from your scrolling DVD with Bud Jeffries, one of the most brutal core drills I've ever done that I love for brace bending is the drill that Bud shows where you're in the power rack and you've got the band on one end of the bar and the weight on the other end, and it's like a push-pull against the rods.
Horrible.
That drill is amazing.
It's horrible. It's terrible. I know what you're talking about. It's extremely intense, and it's vicious. It's totally
It's one
vicious.
of the most vicious core exercises I've ever done. It's brutal.
Yep. That was I forgot about that. There's a couple variations I think of that that we talked about, or maybe they're in the video. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, Bud shows one where the bar's above your head, and then one where it's probably at about knee length or knee height.
Yeah. Crazy stuff, dude. That guy right there he does not get the credit he deserves, and he gets way too much heat and negativity from people. They just don't know what they're seeing when they see him lift. That guy is so strong just so incredibly strong. I mean, he's I don't care if he throws it or not. He does side laterals with 150 pounds. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Give me
Bud is one of my favorite people to follow in the strength world. Never gotten the chance to meet him, but I follow all his stuff on, Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
And besides being brutally strong and brutally conditioned, he is like a mad genius at coming up with new exercises and new combinations. The stuff he comes up with is brutal training that I've never seen anyone else do or come up with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's sick, man. He's like you. You guys are kind of cut from the same cloth. You both have some serious problems. Cool, man. Anything else for Don, Alan?
No, that covered it. Yep.
Yeah, we hit it from a lot of different angles, Don. Really good call today. Was there anything else that you wanted to discuss about steel bending and snapping before we shut her down today?
No, I think we talked about everything that I was hoping to talk about today. Thanks a lot for having me on today. This was fun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Thanks for joining us, Don. And Alan, the show's yours. Take it away, brother.
All right. Well, that's it for episode 103 of This Week in Grip. Hope everybody liked it. Make sure you comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back next week with another one. See you later.